not been in a Zoom webinar before, we are not able to see or hear you. The best way to communicate with us is going to be via the Q&A box on the bottom. We'll see your questions, and then as soon as if we select to answer them live, then you'll hear us answer them. If we select to type back, then you'll see your question pop up into the chat box with a typed out answer. As you can see, there are many folks who are with me here in this Zoom, and we are all going to be answering your questions in different capacities based off what our expertise are. So please know it might take a couple minutes to get back to your question because there are a lot of us working behind the scenes and you might not see all the questions popping up. But we are so excited to have all of you here today. I already see some great questions coming in. I'm going to go ahead and just share a little bit about the STEP program so you know what other options are here for you this summer, and then I will pass off to our wonderful and such helpful guests that we have here. So let's go ahead and I will get started. All right, so welcome everybody. This is our second of many STEP transfer talks that are going to be happening throughout the summer. So we're so excited that you're here today. Please know that from now up until just about when the school year starts, we'll continue to have info sessions based off of what transfer students want to know as they come in. So we hope these are helpful topics. I'll start off with a poll here and see what are you most interested in learning about before starting as a transfer this fall? Go ahead and answer that poll. Make sure that we're touching on topics that are interesting to you. Let me see some things coming in. Getting advising support. All right, that's next week's topic. Transferring credits and what does. Perfect. You're all in the right place for what seem to be the most popular questions. We like to see that. Yeah. Advising and transfer credits. Yeah. The top two by far. So we'll hopefully get a lot of those questions answered today. For those that are more advising based, please know same place and same time next week. That's going to be our main focus. So it looks like the things that are your most burning questions, you'll have answered by this time plus 1 hour next Wednesday. So that's exciting. We're happy to hear that. And a lot of these other questions we'll be addressing throughout the summer. If there's anything that's not here and it's a burning question for you, please know that our transfer peer coaches are available to answer questions one-on-one. They're in their finals, so their schedule's a little bit less available this week and these next coming weeks, but they are here to meet with you on Zoom or in person if you want to visit campus. So excited to talk about the top two of your burning questions that we saw in the poll. So as I mentioned, this is one of our many transfer talks. Those questions that you just answered or that you said were burning for you are going to be our topics as we move throughout the summer. Everything from basic needs, getting connected with CalFresh, how to pay bills, financial aid, advising, all of these really important things we're going to talk about 3 o'clock on every Wednesday throughout summer. If you don't make it, we are recording these sessions and we'll put the recordings as well as some of the main points and some links to those resources on our webpage. Some other components, Transfers Connect is going to be another great way to start meeting each other, both virtually and in person. They'll be led by some of our peer coaches that will be serving you all next year. So this is a great way to make friends, build community, get your questions answered. If you're in the local San Diego area, these will all end with a free lunch. So we'll have 2-hour sessions. I'll show you where you can sign up for any aspect of these. If you're someone who's joining us virtually, we do have raffle prizes like we do today for staying through the whole session. So those will get mailed to you, and we'll talk about that at the very, very end of the session today. Another aspect is going to be our transfer map. So Sam, who's in the room with me, is our wonderful academic support coordinator. She is creating a great way for you to think about how you want to get involved in and out of the classroom during your few years as a transfer student at UCSD. If you participate in this, you'll have a one-on-one with a peer coach and really get to talk about your extracurriculars, how to build your schedule outside of class. So that's a really exciting piece, something that's probably on your mind of how to make the most out of your 2 or 3 years that are coming up at UCSD. This will be coming more towards the end of summer. We have our RED Talks. So this will be our research education talks, a spinoff of TED Talks happening in early August. So we're excited to see you on Zoom for those and talk about how to reach out to faculty. What does research at UCSD look like? And what are some steps to getting started, and when should you get started? Those will be happening early August. And finally, we're very excited to have our STEP Welcome Day, a big picnic on campus the day before classes start. Give you the opportunity to meet other folks who you may have been in sessions with. And if you would like to stay with us from 1 to 2, we're offering a campus tour where our peer coaches will walk you to the buildings of your classroom, so you can feel like you are ready to go on your first day of classes. So we're excited to see you all in person in a few weeks. For any of you who are here, who are first-generation college students, we are running our first year of the Triton Transfer Promise. It is different from the California Community College Promise program, but will provide a lot of one-on-one support and have one-on-one sessions with peer coaches throughout your first academic year and some professional development as well. So we can talk more about this. If there's any answers or questions in the Q&A, I'll go ahead and check those. And if you have interest in some of the upcoming transfer talks, but it doesn't work with your life, you have work, you have anything else going, make sure that you check out this new admits, and we'll go ahead and, as I mentioned before, post those recordings and some main points and links to make sure that you're getting all the info you need to feel ready and comfortable come this fall. So I'll go ahead and post this back at the end. If you have a phone nearby and you'd like to start setting up your attendance now, feel free to scan that QR code. And at the very, very end of this session, we are going to announce 3 raffle winners, and you can come pick up your prize in our office on campus, or we will mail them out to you. So go ahead and snag that QR code while we're here. We'll post it again at the end if you miss it now. No rush on that here. And finally, I'll go ahead and pass over to our guests of honor, who I know have so much wisdom that you are excited to get. It's one of your burning questions we see. So we are going to talk today about IGETC and transcripts, and I'll go ahead and pass off to Sam.
Alrighty, I hope y'all can see the screen, but I will be introducing to you our speakers for today. We have Timothy, who is the Assistant Director of Transfer Student Services with the Office of Admissions, and Katie, who is the Dean of Academic Advising over at the College of Revelle. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to you both.
Great. Well, thank you, Sam and Tessa, and thank you everybody for being available for this webinar today. We really appreciate your participation. And again, congratulations on your admission to UC San Diego. This is a very exciting time, and we're happy to be a part of that. So the next couple of slides, we're going to focus on what IGETC is, how to submit an IGETC, what the transcript deadline is, some of those more logistics. And then we'll pass it on to Dean Katie Michael, who's going to talk a little bit more specifically about how IGETC plays into the role of a new transfer student in terms of curriculum requirements. And we see that some of the Q&A, some of the questions are already coming in that are very applicable. So continue using the Q&A. I do want to point out we have a couple of our admissions staff also in the Q&A responding. So we have Jasmine, Lucy, Bianca, and Titi who are responding to questions as well. So with that, we will advance on to the next slide, please. This webinar is being recorded, so please feel free to use the Q&A feature. Closed captioning is available. Okay, so the enrollment checklist. So all of you have access to the UC applicant portal. That's where you're finding all the information about next steps for enrollment, what we call pre-matriculation or pre-enrollment tasks. And there are quite a few, so we definitely want you to take a look at this enrollment checklist. If you haven't already, and I know all of you probably have, but definitely look through it very carefully. And on each timeline, there is an actual link. There's actually a subject heading, and then there's a link that you can click on to get more information. So just as an FYI, when you go into your applicant portal on the homepage, you just keep scrolling down, and then eventually, it's not that far down, you'll see the enrollment checklist. There'll be a couple slides that actually show you what it looks like. But as mentioned on this slide, very important. In fact, you are responsible to review and confirm all the different tasks that are listed for you on the enrollment checklist. Some of these are mandatory next steps. There are some at the very bottom that are more recommended steps. But definitely, we want you to take a look at that. If you are running into any trouble with the enrollment checklist, definitely let us know in the admissions office. One of my admissions colleagues will put the general admissions email address in the Q&A or in the chat, excuse me, in the chat, so you can contact us. And of course, in the enrollment checklist, via the enrollment checklist, all the different admission office email addresses are listed depending on what your need is or your question. So we're here to help. And we look forward to connecting with you if there's an issue. Next slide, please. So this is an actual screenshot of what the enrollment checklist looks like when you get into your applicant portal and you scroll down. So it's great because not only does it delineate chronologically what the different deadlines are and tasks, but it also provides a little blurb of what that task is. As I mentioned earlier, in that subject heading on the right, in the white space, that's what that is about. So for instance, June 8th was the deadline to apply for on-campus housing. So the next really important, there's the complete your academic background. That one's coming up really quick, and also monitor your financial aid. That one's for tomorrow. So the one we're primarily talking about today is the July 1st deadline, which is really the deadline to have all of your official high school, well, actually all of your official community college or college transcripts submitted. Technically, the deadline for high school transcripts, for AP, official AP and IB scores, or even A-level exam scores, and IGETC certification is actually July 15th, but we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So you can see, this is just one screenshot. As you continue to go down, there'll be information about immunizations, about getting your ID card, just all the different tasks. So definitely set some time aside and make sure you go through really thoroughly what the enrollment checklist has to offer, because all the information is there. So you just have to make sure you take some time to review it. Next slide, please. Okay, so when you click on that where it says the deadline for transcripts, then it'll take you into some additional places. And this is what it's going to look like. You're actually going to be able to information about how to request your official transcript and track your transcript. So this particular slide here shows you the instructions for requesting official transcripts, and UC San Diego's Office of Admissions receives transcripts electronically, in person, or hard copy. And most of the students now are submitting electronically, and in the enrollment checklist, again, you'll be able to find all the different ways to do that, whether it's parchment or any other service that primarily community colleges, but some of the other four-year universities are also using as well. Students can also mail a hard copy to our office, and the instructions are also listed along with the mailing address. And students can even drop it off in our office. So the Triton Center, which is located in the Student Services Center, and again, this information is in the enrollment checklist, we have a little drop box. So as long as it's in a sealed envelope, so in other words, you have the transcript, they issue it to you, let's just say at community college, let's say Mesa College, which is in the local area, they issue you the official transcript in a sealed envelope from Mesa College. If you're in town or if you want to visit campus, you can literally drop it off in our Dropbox in the Triton Center, and that will be considered official. We see less and less of that nowadays, these days, more and more electronic submission, but whichever avenue you want to follow, by all means. Next slide. Again, here's some additional information. This is a delineated list of some of the electronic methods. You can see there are quite a few. So that number seems to be growing every year. So check it out. Make sure that your community college or college utilizes that, or even your high school. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about high school in a few moments. And then you can see also listed here is the mailing address and also information about the Student Service Center. You can also drop them off on the 4th floor, but we would recommend on the 1st floor in the Triton Center. Next slide. Official transcripts received. So another great feature in the enrollment checklist is, again, not only the instructions, but also tracking receipt. Now, I do want to mention here, it says it can take up to 10 business days for your transcripts to show that they've been received. It could even take a little bit longer. You have to understand we're getting a lot of transcripts right now, but don't worry. July 1st is still a little ways off, and it's not a situation where come July 1st, if the official transcript is not shown to be received, those students, their admission is not canceled. It doesn't work quite like that. So there is a little grace period, and we know that students are still submitting their transcripts. So continue to monitor the enrollment checklist. I know we have been getting emails in our office or to our office inbox, our main inbox, students who have already submitted their transcripts maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's still not showing up on their enrollment checklist. I would just caution everybody to be patient. You know, the July 1st deadline is coming up. We will post those transcripts once they are available. Once we start getting into July, then if you have some concerns, then you can definitely, I would encourage you to email or call our office. But you can see on this slide here, it'll actually delineate when it was, which college, when it was received, and the actual time it was received. So it's very precise. I do want to also point out specific questions for receipt of transcripts, these kinds of things. The email address on this slide, which is in the on the enrollment checklist, is very appropriate. Receipt of transcript at ad.ucsd.edu. They can respond to all your specific questions about receipt of transcript. But again, I would urge you not to send any emails right yet. If you don't see it on your enrollment checklist for the next 2 weeks or so, we are working on it. Rest assured, we're working on it. You would be notified if we don't have it and we need it by the deadline or shortly after the deadline. So students are not going to be canceled for their admission right after July 1st if it doesn't show we have your transcripts yet. So I do want to just make that clear because we know students are anxious. Students want to be successful in this process for working toward matriculation or working toward enrollment, and we understand that. So anyway, so that's something that I would urge you to consider as we move forward. Next slide. IGETC examples. So let me explain just a little bit about the difference between IGETC and a transcript. So for community college, or let me just say for transfer students, you are required to submit all of your college level transcripts to the office by July 1st. That's the published deadline. For IGETC certification, that deadline is actually July 15th. And the same holds true for AP and IB scores. For high school transcripts, it's also July 1st. So any college or high school transcript, it is July 1st. For test scores, again, that would be AP, IB, and also the IGETC certification, that's July 15th. So the IGETC certification is typically a form that delineates the IGETC curriculum. So IGETC stands for Intersegmental General Education Transfer Curriculum, or what we like to say IGETC for short. It's basically a series of courses that cover general education requirements, not all the general education requirements at UC San Diego, but a good chunk of them. And Dean Katie Michael is going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to that point in the webinar. So there are distinctions between the community college or university transcript, the high school transcript, and the IGETC certification. Now, as we go through these next slides, I'm going to break down what's appropriate for IGETC, having what we call considered certified IGETC. Next slide. Thank you, Sam. So here's an example from one of our community colleges in the local area. This, historically at least, is what their IGETC certification looks like. It's a very clear delineation of the IGETC curriculum. You can see it's broken down by English composition, oral communication, although UC is not using oral communication, that's for CSU. Remember, the IGETC certification form can be for both the CSU, which is California State University, or the UC, University of California, which is what we are a part of, the University of California system. So you can see also at the bottom, it's certified as being a UC version, full IGETC certification, and it's also signed. So this is a great example of what the certification should look like. And this one was submitted electronically. Next slide. Here's an example from Riverside City or the Moreno Valley College. This is a full Riverside City Moreno Valley College IGETC form. So you can see it looks a little bit different. Each college has their own spin on what the IGETC certification form looks like. It's not a uniform form for all 116 community colleges, although the information presented is usually pretty consistent. You know, it has information about the college, the different areas of IGETC, whether they're met or not, whether it's a UC full or partial IGETC, and then in that it's been certified by the community college. So here you can see another example, and it's nice because it's very clear. On the left, it shows which area, the right explains what the area is, and then on the very far right, it shows how many units have actually been taken for that area. Next slide. Here's another example from another popular college. All these are popular colleges for students that come to UC San Diego, El Camino College. Here's another IGETC form, and again, you can see it looks very similar to the other two examples we've already showed you, just a little bit different in terms of its, I guess you might say, flavor. Next slide. Santa Monica College. So this is what we would call a partial Santa Monica College certification. So remember, for IGETC, there's full IGETC and there's also partial IGETC. For partial IGETC, students are allowed to be missing up to 2 courses and still receive what we call partial IGETC certification. If a student comes into UC San Diego partially certified, they would work with their college academic advising office, their UC San Diego College academic advising office, to find out what they would need to do in order to either certify their IGETC or to complete their general education requirements at UC San Diego. But in this example, you can see this is an electronic version from Santa Monica. It indicates partial IGETC, and it's very clear about which areas are missing. So for a partial IGETC, it does have to clearly delineate which areas are missing, which of up to 2 areas are missing. And in this case, you can see they're missing 1 area in area 3. Okay, so that's very, very important. I do want to point out, I want to just take a moment to point out on the partial IGETC, sometimes we do see community colleges, and remember, only a community college can certify IGETC, not another UC campus or a CSU campus, only a community college, California Community College. Sometimes the actual college transcript will list that they're full IGETC certified, full completion of IGETC for UC. Sometimes it will also delineate if it's partial IGETC. But remember, if it's listing a partial IGETC on the transcript, it does have to clearly list which areas are missing. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment and just kind of let that sink in. So in other words, it is appropriate if your college transcript lists that you will be fully IGETC certified for UC, then there is no need to submit a separate form. And if you are partial IGETC certified, if it lists that on the certification form, it has to clearly list which areas are missing. Now, I just recommend for ease, when you're requesting transcripts, just also request an IGETC certification. Most, if not all, the community colleges have that listed as an option. And so it just comes usually in 2 different documents, the official transcript and the IGETC certification, whether it's electronic or hard copy. It just makes things easier. Over the years, we do see sometimes students choose not to do that for whatever reason. But again, I would really urge people to do that. It's very easy and it keeps everything very complete. The next slide, please. Here's another example from Los Medanos College. So we did want to show you what an example looked like that was not actually going to be sufficient. And so this is an electronic version. This is not an acceptable IGETC. It's missing that it's certified, and it's missing full, complete, partial information. So the information we have on this document is incomplete. What can be tricky as a new student is if you're requesting to have these documents sent, you don't necessarily see a copy of it. So what I recommend to students is that when you're requesting a copy to be sent, you also request a copy to be sent to you, whether that's electronically or hard copy. Now that way you will actually see what the document looks like. There are instances, you know, there are a lot of community colleges, a lot of students transferring to a lot of different universities. There may be an instance where a community college does not actually certify the student, and it could just be an oversight, no problem. But if you have a copy of that IGETC or transcript that you requested, you'll know that up front. You can say, oh, I see this doesn't look complete. Follow up with your community college and have them send out a free follow-up copy because somebody did not actually either certify it or complete the document. So that's something that I would also urge as well. Next slide. Pasadena City. So here's another example of this is not going to be sufficient for IGETC. It's electronic. It does not clearly list on the top of the first page or bottom of the last page if this is a complete or partial IGETC. So it is up to the community college to do that. And so as a student, just be really clear when you're making the request, either in person or electronically, that you want the full IGETC certification and you need for it to be certified. And again, and I do want to stress that most of the community colleges all the community colleges, I should say, are very familiar with the process. They do see a lot of volume though. So you just want to make sure that you're following up to be responsive for your needs, to make sure that we get the correct documents in a timely fashion. Next slide. And with that, so we did cover some general information about what IGETC looks like, the differences between full IGETC, partial IGETC, high school transcripts, community college transcripts, or otherwise. Before I hand it over, I do want to mention one thing about high school transcripts, and I saw there were a couple of questions in the Q&A. If you are coming from a high school, if you graduated from a high school that was outside the United States, you are not required to have your official high school transcript submitted as a transfer student. Now, as a transfer student, you don't even have to have a high school diploma to be eligible for admission to UC San Diego. However, there is a graduation requirement. It's called American Histories and Institutions. It's the acronym for it is AH&I. If you did complete in high school, US high school, if you took a US history course and a US government course, 1 full year, and you pass those courses with a C or better for 1 full year, that will actually satisfy that graduation requirement. And so that's why on the enrollment checklist, it does indicate if you attended a high school in the United States, we would recommend highly that you submit an official high school transcript. And I know there are instances, of course, where high school students don't necessarily take a US history course more and more, and I think it may be a requirement in some states, so most students do, but if you don't, we still would like to have that high school transcript, but again, that can actually satisfy a requirement for graduation before you've even started class at UC San Diego. So with that, I'm going to be in the Q&A, and then we'll come back out for live Q&A, but I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Dean Katie Michael, who's going to take it over.
Thank you, Timothy. Hi, everyone. Congratulations again on your acceptance here. We are very excited in college advising and on campus in general to welcome you all over the next few months. There are some really good questions in the chat right now, so I just want to acknowledge that. I am hoping I can answer some of your questions more specifically related to advising and how IGETC helps you to satisfy some of your degree requirements. So as you know, hopefully, there are undergraduate colleges at UC San Diego, and you have been admitted into one of those, which will be your home base. Now, there are 8 colleges, but this slide only shows 7 right now because 8th college is brand new in the fall and will be admitting transfer students in a couple of years. Students in any college can major in anything, but one of the big differences between colleges is your general education curriculum, or your GEs, are determined by which college you are a student in. Now, there are colleges up on the screen here. So we've got Revelle College. We were the first college here. You'll see these in order of founding. So if you're wondering why they are not alphabetical, it's because it's the history of the creation of the colleges. So the second college was John Muir College. Then we have Marshall College, Warren College, Eleanor Roosevelt College, which we call ERC, 6th College, and 7th College. All colleges except Revelle College, and I am the Dean of Advising in Revelle College, so pick on me if you need to. All colleges except Revelle College do take IGETC for completion of their general education curriculum. If you are a Revelle College student, you'll be one of the students that works with me when you arrive, and we accept IGETC for completion of everything except our math requirement and our natural science requirement. Now, the flip side of that is that all colleges except Revelle actually have upper division courses as part of their curriculum that IGETC does not fulfill. So you can see on the slide here, Muir has 1 class, Marshall has 2 classes, Warren has 3, ERC has 2, 6th College has an experiential learning, which could be a course plus a class, and 7th College has 2 classes. Now, what this means is that even if you bring in IGETC completion, you are going to need an additional course within your college curriculum as an IGETC transfer student. I'm going to pop in the chat right now links to all 7 colleges that are admitting transfer students in terms of what the general education curriculum specifically for your college will look like. All right, next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you, Sam. All right, so each college has an academic advising team that will help you understand your overall degree picture throughout the summer. You will hear from us over the course of the next few months, so please continue to watch your UCSD email. You are not behind in any way in terms of advising. You do not need to know what classes you're taking today, or honestly for 2 more months. So it's a bit strange because in academic advising, we tell new students, just wait, there's not a lot we can tell you right now. And next week, if you tune in to the transfer webinar, same time, same place, we will give you some more specific academic advising information. And part of that is explaining why we can't tell you specifics right now. But what you can do is starting tomorrow, so later, probably tomorrow or the next day, you are going to get an email from your college. And it's going to ask you to do something called New Triton Advising. And part of that is submitting your academic background. What your academic background is it's self-reported information like the classes you're currently finishing and planning to take this summer, your test scores, your intended major. And what we do as an academic advising team in each of the colleges is we're going through your academic background and your transcripts as they're posting and your IGETC information and your letters of reciprocity as they're posting. And this is what we are doing throughout the entire month of July and into August. And we make individual degree audit exceptions so that your record and your degree audit reflects what you individually have taken and what you still need. We spend a lot of time doing this. Not surprisingly, we can't do any of that work until we have all of your transcripts, test scores, the IGETC information. And we do need to make those individual exceptions for many students. So your academic advisors in the colleges might contact you throughout the summer through the virtual advising center. You'll be able to contact us starting tomorrow through there. And we will be asking you any questions if we need information about anything that you self-reported on that academic background. It is your responsibility to make sure that your academic record is updated. And frankly, nobody knows your record as well as you. So keep your eye on your academic history in the tool called My Triton Link, which there's a link here on the screen. It's just mytritonlink.ucsd.edu. This is where, as our admissions folks are powering through thousands of records and test scores throughout the summer, they're individually loading these things. So take some time, give them some grace. So check your enrollment checklist that Timothy mentioned earlier to see that we've received your transcript. And then as those are received and loaded, you're going to start to see your actual courses you've taken, those test scores that you've taken posted on your academic history. If and when we receive your IGETC certification, there is an image on the screen right now that just shows IGETC certificate, and it will show there's a Y standing for yes, it was received and posted, and where it was received from. So if you start to see your courses posted, and let's say early August, you're not seeing anything about your IGETC, that's when you would want to make sure, check in with your community college that they sent that whatever they may have needed to send in addition to your transcript. A couple of the questions earlier were about the community college perhaps not able to send the IGETC document by July 1st. That's okay. Community colleges have their own timelines. In that case, when you're completing the academic background starting tomorrow, just tell us. One of the questions on there is to self-report the type of transfer agreement you're coming from. Do you have IGETC? Do you have partial IGETC? Are you an out-of-state transfer student? Are you a UC transfer student expecting reciprocity? That just helps our advisors throughout the summer as we're looking to see what type of coursework we're expecting that you would need. So it helps us to advise you in August. You don't actually enroll until the middle of August, which is why I say for now, you have nothing to worry about in terms of classes to take. All right, next slide, please. So one thing to keep in mind is that you will have general education requirements as part of your degree. Every student does, but you also have major requirements and you have university requirements. And IGETC does not waive university requirements. At UC San Diego, there are 3 main university requirements. The first being what we call ELWR, or the entry-level writing requirement. And as transfer students, you will have already completed this. The second one that Timothy mentioned, it's AH&I, or the American History and Institutions requirement. Now, if you did attend a high school, especially in California, but anywhere in the US, and you took a American history or government course, you will want to submit your high school transcript to admissions. If you're an out-of-country student, an international student that went to high school abroad, talk with your college advisors once you get here. We can waive that requirement when you graduate. And then the third requirement that IGETC does not necessarily complete is DEI, or the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion requirement. And that is a select list of classes. It's approved by a special committee here on campus. And most transfer students do end up needing to take a DEI course once they start at UC San Diego. You also have major requirements. So IGETC alone will not waive your major requirements. But if you took a course as part of your IGETC completion, that class could count towards your major requirements. For example, one of the requirements of IGETC is math. And if the math course that you took was a calculus class that comes here as our Math 20A, which is calculus, then your major's calculus class could be completed if it requires calculus. And the other requirement I want to mention that IGETC does not fulfill is your upper division unit requirement. Those are courses here at UC San Diego that are numbered 100 through 199. And every student needs at least 60 units that are upper division classes. Now, anything that you took from a community college will only be lower division. Does not count for upper division. So if your major, I like to use communication as an example, if your major requires 48 upper division units, which a lot of them do, you still need electives to reach 60 minimum upper division units. Your IGETC courses are not going to complete that. I like to mention this because transfer students often come here thinking they're only going to take major classes. They bring in IGETC, they think I'm taking my major classes and I'm done. And I just want to dispel that myth today. That is not going to be the case. You will take additional courses beyond just major requirements when you're here. If you have more questions about advising in general, please do join us next week. There will be a few of us helping to answer some general advising questions to get you started, because I know these are the ones that a lot of students have questions about. All right, next slide. And really, I'm just going to open it up for questions. We'll continue to answer things in the chat. Timothy, I think lots of these are probably for you and the admissions team. Where do you want to start?
From the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. So we'll try to get to as many questions as we can, and we'll just go right down the list. So the first question is a good question. They're all good questions. A student is transferring from another UC. Can they complete the lower division general education requirements at the current UC this summer quarter? So the question really is, can they send the UC transcript this month to meet the admission requirement and then send another transcript, including their letter of reciprocity? So letter of reciprocity, as Katie mentioned, is just a UC thing. So if you're transferring from another UC, that's a possibility. It's not an admission requirement. Somebody asked, they're not going to have their UC reciprocity. Is their admission going to be affected? And the answer is no, it won't affect your admission. And Katie can talk a little bit more about what that looks like as you enroll and matriculate, but students should do this. So have the July 1st deadline. And again, that's the deadline for both high school and community college or university transcripts. Send the official transcript with all the grades posted through the end of spring of 23. And then if you are taking summer courses, and many students are, so we are expecting, have a second transcript sent then after that. So in this example, have your UC transcript sent as soon as you can once the spring grades are posted. And then after you finish that summer course or courses at that UC campus, have that UC send another transcript to UC San Diego. The letter of reciprocity actually will go directly to the college academic advising office. So the Office of Admissions does not need to receive that letter of reciprocity, but I'll let Dean Michael speak a little bit about that.
Sure. So UC reciprocity can be helpful. It's a different way, sort of think of it as similar to IGETC, except you're transferring from another UC instead of a community college. Every college, again, except Revelle, will accept the letter of reciprocity. So say you're transferring from UCLA, you would want to talk with your current academic advisors to write you that letter of reciprocity, and then you would give it to your home college here once you get to UC San Diego. The links that I had posted earlier in the chat from the 7 different colleges, if you click back up there, and I can copy this again, just in case someone joined within the last few minutes. If you start there at that link for whatever college you have, we also, each of the colleges, we have information about what UC reciprocity looks like for your GEs. So generally, it's the same as IGETC. If you finished IGETC, you finished your lower division general education courses, you still need the upper division. Same thing with Revelle. You finished everything except science and math. And the reason for that is just Revelle has a very large number of general education courses. So the history of our college, I will get into another day. I did see a question in the chat about what an upper division, what was the wording for it? A non-contiguous course or upper division breadth course. So if you're a Warren College student or a Marshall College student, what that means is an advanced course, so numbered 100 to 199, that's outside of your major. So if your major is within a social science field, you would then need an upper division, so junior, senior level course outside of the social sciences. If you are a science major, you need something in humanities or social sciences, and your individual home college will have much more information about this. If you are a Marshall College student, they have a helpful little drop down on their website in terms of where is your major, what is the upper division breadth. If you're a Warren College student, their webpage is amazing in terms of their non-contiguous to major and different concentrations.
Lots of great questions. And so here's another question. So I just want to make sure it's clear. So the deadline to submit the official IGETC, the published deadline for the University of California is July 15th, whereas the transcript deadline is July 1st. Now, many students will just submit the IGETC when they have the transcript, but if you wait until July 15th for that IGETC certification, no problem at all. Another question I see here is about, essentially the question is, can somebody email official transcripts? And the answer is no. So previous to this year, during the pandemic, there was an exception was made that there were some very strict guidelines where counselors and administrators from a school directly could email transcripts and official documents to the Office of Admissions, but that is no longer the case. So if you do send something electronically, it has to be through one of the vendors that are listed in the enrollment checklist. An email copy, if you send an email copy, it's considered unofficial and it will not be processed as an official document. So that's a great question as well. Let's see here.
I'm seeing some questions about the AHI and DEI requirements. So I'm just going to drop in the chat here for everyone. The officially approved courses for DEI, they're listed online. There are some upper division options. So we would usually tell transfer students, look at those upper division options so that you get DEI and upper division units. And then AHI, or the American History and Institutions, that has a few different ways of meeting it. And I'll pop this in the chat as well. If you didn't have that high school class here in the US, or you're not an international student, maybe you took something at the community college, maybe you have AP history, maybe you get here and you decide you want to or need to take a class, and that's okay too. But those 2 links I just put in the chat will help you get started looking for options.
There was a question about accessing school email on Gmail, and it's a great question. I don't know the answer to that question. That it seems to me, unless Dean Michael or maybe our colleagues at the Triton Transfer Hub, Sam or Tessa know, I'm going to put a link in the chat to ITS. The ITS unit on campus really manages all matters for technology related issues, and students can submit a help ticket. I'm not 100% sure.
students will be able to access those emails, but it does take 24 hours. And I think it says 24. I think it's a little bit longer than 24 hours for that email to actually boot up. So if you did follow the steps in the article that you're putting in the chat now, I would give it maybe 3 days max before trying to log in on Google with the account that you set up through ITS. But there does seem to be a little bit of a lag.
Great. Thank you, Tessa. Yeah, for Gmail. Now, if you're just having trouble also with your UC San Diego email account, you can also, I did put in the chat the Blink. Blink is what we have a lot of internal types of processes and resources for students. You can definitely work with ITS to see if there's a remedy for that particular situation. And it's not uncommon for students who are new and coming on into the university. A great question.
Timothy, do you have an easy rule of thumb of when a high school GPA or transcript is needed versus when it's not?
Excellent question. Yes. So if they attended high school in the US, so anybody who attended high school outside the US, we automatically know we don't need it. And then B, if they took a US history course or a US government or civics course, and again, as Dean Michael was talking about that AH&I requirement, it's not going to affect the student's admission. A college transcript, we definitely need all college transcripts, but the high school transcript is not going to affect a student's admission. But again, we definitely recommend you do it now. Don't wait until it comes time to graduate and then you forgot to send your official high school transcript and then you're trying to get it and everybody else is trying to get it, you know, and you're trying to graduate. So we just recommend doing it on the front end because that's the easiest way. Okay. And Tessa, are there any other questions? I know you and Sam and everybody are really kind of scanning those questions. Anything looks to be sort of elevated at this point?
We had some questions come in with the attendance as well. And there's quite a few regarding minors. Katie, is that something that you might be able to speak to?
Sure. So minors are optional. You do not have to have a minor. You can, but you certainly don't need to. Think of a minor as basically half the credits of a major. For some students, particularly transfer students, they won't have the time within their 2 years here to finish everything for a minor. Others, if they brought in a lot of courses already for their major, might want to or have the space to add a minor. If you have a secondary area of interest outside of your major, I would encourage you to talk to your advisors about how can you fit that in. Is there something that you could take towards your DEI or towards any of those upper division units that you need that could start to work on a minor to see if you want to complete the whole thing? A minor is usually 7 classes. Tessa, are there other minor ones on there? I'm kind of scrolling, but I don't want to miss them.
I'm just peeking through. So we have a question box as well in our on the attendance sheet. So I'm just seeing if there's anything there as well. I think more folks are just wondering how to do that. Double major is mentioned as well. So maybe yeah, the process of adding a double major if possible.
Sure. So transfer students, you're under a policy called the quarter limit policy, which allows you to enroll for 6 full-time quarters or 2 years. If you want to enroll beyond that, you have to submit what's called a completion plan that's approved by your major departments and your college advisors, and you have to have a reason for wanting or needing to stay longer. So if you have a very intentional reason why you want a double major, you would talk to both major advisors in the fall. Once you get here, you would plan out your course plan basically to see if you can fit everything in. A lot of times, bluntly, I would not advise a student to do a double major because the end result would be more debt, more time in college. Perhaps you should look at a master's degree. But for some students, it is really intentional and very well planned in terms of why you want a double major or even a major and a minor. So it's very individualized, and that is definitely why your advising teams are here, so we can help you think through some of those things. I am also seeing in the chat questions about how can I talk to an advisor? When can I start to talk to an advisor? All very, very timely. So tomorrow, new Triton advising on the Virtual Advising Center, or the VAC as we call it. Tomorrow that will be open for transfers, and you will start to get information from your college about when and how to reach out to them. You can also reach out to your department advisors, because you do have department advisors that will answer your major questions. It is not officially launched yet, so please do not go in there and try to do things, or people are going to be like, Katie, what did you do? But it officially opens tomorrow, and then we will start to message you about that, and you can reach out to us with any questions you have. Honestly, a lot of it right now is going to be, please wait. We need to give our admissions friends some time to receive all of your information and to post that information before we can really see it. And again, a little plug for next week's session will be about advising, so we can give you some more pretty good information. One thing I love about UCSD is there's a lot of information available online. So it's out there. If you're a good Googler, you will find it. But next week, we will start to help you put that together to know what does it mean and what do you need to know about advising now.
I think we touched on the main themes of questions. I'll go ahead and leave the Q&A open unless you see there's another burning one that you think you want to answer live. Are you feeling, both folks feeling good? Perfect. All right, we'll continue to answer those in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and do some wrap up with you, as well as a raffle. So we love having you in these sessions, and we try to provide some incentives for those of you who join us. So make sure that you are filling out our attendance. I'll go ahead and share my screen again so you can have that link. I had just posted it in the chat a little bit back as well, but please make sure that you are scanning this QR code. I also put the link in the chat to make sure that you are having your attendance counted for being here. And then I'm going to open up our poll as well to help us make sure if these are helpful and what we can do to make sure that your transition is as smooth as possible. I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll in as well. I think I might have just learned a fun thing. I don't think I can launch a poll and be sharing my screen at the same time. I don't launch it at all. Okay, well, our poll is not going to work. So I will go ahead and make sure that we're giving Sam a couple seconds to make sure that all of you have had an opportunity to be able to sign up on attendance. Again, that is in the chat, as well as that QR code. And when Sam's ready, she'll go ahead and share screen and see who we are giving our raffle prizes to. Again, it's been mentioned a few times, it's one of your burning questions, but our advising session is going to be this same Zoom link, same time next week. If you have signed up for the STEP program and selected that you would like to participate in Transfer Talks, I'll send you a day of reminder to the emails provided, and we will look forward to having you next week. Sam, are you ready for us on the spinner?
Yes, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, here we are. So I will select 3 winners. So here we go. Alrighty, so just a heads up, everyone, we will go ahead and email you all for those who won with details on your gift. So congratulations. Okay, next winner. Okay. Okay, and then last one. Alrighty, so we have our 3 winners. Thank you all for joining us. And then for those who did win, we will go ahead and email you.
Thank you so much, Sam. And a friendly reminder to all of you at the Triton Transfer Hub, we try to make sure that we have all these resources easily accessible. So if there were questions that you didn't have answered today, please remember that you can reach out to our peer coaches. They are our current transfer students. Also on our website, we have a whole section dedicated to new admits. So a lot of these frequently asked questions and a lot of materials to look through. It is at tritontransfers.ucsd.edu, and we have more specialized info for all of you right in this new admit section right here. And otherwise, we're so happy that you were able to join us for today. If you have any questions, please follow up. And thank you so much to our guest speakers and for all of our guest Q&A answerers for being silently in the background and getting us all this information. Looks like we had a total of 143 questions answered today. That's massive. So that takes a large team, and thank you so much for all of you. We know this process can be very anxiety inducing, and know that we are here to support, and you have a lot of allies here that want to have you have the smoothest transition possible. So thanks again for being here. We hope to see you next week. Bye, everyone.